It's all about mindset. It's not about like the non-controlling factors. It's about how we show up and believe that we are in order to move forward. What are some of those common things that kind of stop them or get them stuck a little?
Well, first of all, I don't use the word try. I just work with. So I got to make sure that they have that same mentality. You have a chance, an opportunity to change your future going forward. Because I don't have the power to change what happened to us and what happened to you. And don't think I don't empathize. But I can't carry your burden. Either you keep carrying it or you let it go. What are you going to do right now?
All right, welcome to another edition of the Journey to Freedom podcast, where we are looking to figure out ways that we can enhance, develop, increase our lives, as Black men. And so, one of the things that I love about being able to do this podcast, for me, anyways, is I think I'm the person that when you talk about being the fly on the wall, and I did a thing on my last YouTube about being a fly on the wall, but I get to learn, when I think about doing these, and in 2024 doing 100 of these, that means I get 100 hours of learning about what some incredible people are doing, how people are impacting our community, how people are impacting the folks that are around us, how we are moving forward in our journey to freedom. That we are going to always be on. This journey is not a journey that ends. There's not a stopping point. We have the shoulders of giants that we get to stand on, and then we get to communicate with folks. We get to be in commune with folks, which is really cool. The goal of this is that, as we do some of our coaching sessions and do some of our other stuff, is that we create community groups where we can get together, that we can spend time, that we can talk, that we can find ways not to be isolated. And that sometimes is hard in our society today with all the technology and all the things that go on. Sometimes we get so into our own sphere, our own lives, our own things that we're trying, that we mistake or we lose our ability to create relationship. In the Black community for many years, at least the many years that I was growing up, and what my grandmother talked about and what my mom and dad talked about was the church, and the church being this big cornerstone or pillar where we would meet. Sometimes I can remember going to church on Sunday, going to church on Tuesday, going to church on Thursday, going to church on Saturday, going to church on Sunday. But it was where this is before the internet, and where we were able to create community. And so I hope that we get to do this, and through these podcasts that you learn enough that you say, hey, I want to be in some of these transformational groups that we'll do. I'm taking a group to, I don't know if you know this, Chris, yet, but I'm going to take a group to Alabama next February, a group of Black men, and we're going to do a civil rights tour. We're going to not only talk about what it was like before. We're going to start out in Birmingham. We're going to do a tour there. Then we're going to flip over to Selma, and we're going to do some fun stuff and go over the Bettis Bridge and kind of walk where they walked during that march. And then we're going to go to the Justice Museum, the Bryan Stevenson Museum and the Lynching Museum, and kind of walk through that. In the meantime, we're the Emancipation Theater. We're talking. I'm talking with Jeff about putting some stuff together where we'll do some stuff there and really create some community groups that are grounded in our past, but moving forward. And so today I'm fortunate to have Chris Brewer on, and so which is so neat because Chris is a mentor in our community. Chris is one of those folks who says, you know what, I've had this life, I've been able to do these things in my life, but I want to give back. I want to make sure that we're not going to leave a stone unturned. We're not going to leave, young men, out there where they're not having somebody that can walk them through. When we think about who becomes our mentor, if we're not out there doing it, you think of sometimes the stars and the people that we don't really know their lives. We just know the result of their ability to, sing or to be a, entertainer, actor, or to be a sports figure. We don't know, who they're watching on television sometimes, that become the mentors. What we do know is that there are folks in gang members, that gang leaders, that would love to swoop them up and give them, a community, a relationship, which is scary for our young kids and our young adults, because they can get caught up in crime, they can get caught up in making really bad decisions, but because they are so in need of community. And so, Chris, I just want to thank you for the things that you're doing in the community right now. I thank you for your time to learn, your time to not only be able to sit down with somebody and be able to help walk them through, but your own growth, being willing to take the time to learn more, to grow more, to be more, so that you can serve others. I have this prayer that I say every day. It says, "Dear Lord," it says, "give me the wisdom to do the things that you put me on this earth to do in a way that pleases you and serves others." And I think the last part of it, please help me to be able to serve others. And that's exactly what you're doing. So, I know that was one of my longer introductions, but I would love for you, Chris, to kind of just, give us where you came from, how you got to where you're at right now. What are some especially fun things that you're doing right now? Let us know exactly who Chris Brewer is.
Chris Brewer, born and raised in Denver, Colorado. That's about it.
I think it's a little bit more. Where'd you go to high school, Chris?
No. Your introduction is about 12 minutes long. So I just wanted to kind of show some levity there.
There we go. I love it.
And in life we can't take ourselves so seriously.
Of course.
We've got to enjoy what God has given us. But anyway, let's. I was born in Denver, Colorado, to a single parent. My mom was like 19 when she had me. She met my dad in Gary, Indiana after she graduated high school. She was from a small town in Texas. And it's interesting you say that, because I had to introduce myself this way the other day. They says, where does your name come from? And my mom was from a small town in Texas, and she was one of 10 siblings. Wow. There was only 2 girls in that family. She had an older sister, and those 2 hated their names. They hated the her name. My aunt's name was Eleanor Jean, and they call her Ella Jean, and my mom was Elizabeth Ann, and they call her Lizzie Ann, and it just sounded so country to them. So they wanted to make sure that I've got my older cousin who has passed. God rest his soul. His name was Kirby. Kirby Grant, and a very proper sounding name. And my name is Christopher Michael Brewer. I've got a brother named William Bradford Brewer, and and I do thank my parents for the names they gave me, or my mom, in fact, because I never knew my dad. Okay. Met him a couple times, but never knew him, because when she went from Gary, Indiana, went from the small town in Texas, Mount Pleasant, to Gary after she graduated high school, just to visit some relatives. That's when she ran into my father.
Okay.
And and he was an original OG, a guy who worked in the steel mills, also had a hustle on the side, and driving around in a Thunderbird in the early '60s, black convertible, was very impressive to my mom. And then but this is what I've learned. I'm not mad at him, not upset with him. I've forgiven him 100%, so that my life can move forward.
Amen.
And the truth of the matter is, I have 8 kids myself.
All right.
Yeah. So we may get into that, we may not. But I have 8 kids myself, and in order for me to be the father I need to be with them, I need to be able to release all of that from my past and not be bitter. So being born and raised in Colorado is a little bit different and than the average, but I'm thankful for Colorado. Thankful for where I am. It's a place where it has no dialect. and in this political age, we are truly a purple state where there's parts of us that's so right to center, it's not even funny. And there's those like I'll give an example in Boulder, Colorado, which is so left to center that how do we even coexist together? How do we not spin out of existence? But I was very fortunate to be raised by a very good man, my stepfather, and taught me a lot of principles of just on what being a man is all about. And he didn't teach me those things just by sitting me down. Taught
Gotcha.
me those things by doing, by
Okay.
what I saw. And
Hmm.
he's still the greatest man I've ever known because he took on a responsibility that he didn't have to take on. And then so he didn't have to. I mean, he could have just lived his life, and but he decided to raise us, and I am, like I said, I'm very thankful. He's the greatest man I've ever known. I want to make sure. Uh, I always make sure that he knows that.
Okay.
Um, uh, I played a little sports, so and I say little. And if you ask my wife, when I say I was in the NFL, who I've known my wife since third grade, she always says barely.
In is in, right?
Yeah, yeah. She says, I try to, when someone comes up to me and says, "Oh, Chris, how you doing?" Boom, 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 NFL, boom. Boom. She says barely, and I appreciate her to keep me grounded. But I was drafted by the Broncos in 1984. I'm in the George Washington High School Hall of Fame, so I do kind of. I went to University of Arizona, played for the Bears, also bounced around, and so that's why she says barely. I played maybe 4.5 years of professional football,
Okay.
and so I do understand that side of it, and I do understand why kids want to be
Hmm.
in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely.
But can I explain something to you real quick?
Absolutely.
Since we're here talking about the NFL, and I heard you mention something about that earlier, it's 12 years a slave, and I
Mm.
wanted to sign up for it.
Hmm.
I couldn't wait to be 12 years a slave because that minute group that can make it to the NFL, NBA, whatever sport that we
Hmm.
aspire to, especially young African American kids. I wanted to be one of those slaves. Slave me up. I wanted to you tell me where to go, what to do, how to do it, and be under the microscope. There is it when they talk about the real world is easier.
Hmm.
Okay, waking up and going to a regular job every day and performing and doing your best, you may get rewarded. You can perform and do your best all you want, and then get hurt. You can perform and do your best all you want, and they say we don't need you anymore. You can perform and do your best all you want, and we've got so many just waiting to replace you that you're not needed. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have that any young man, young person wants to have that dream, but don't
Absolutely.
make it your plan. I've
Yeah.
heard so many young people say my goal is to be in the NBA, but my backup plan is to be a lawyer. Nope, that's your plan. My backup
Be a
plan is to be
lawyer.
a doctor. Nope, that's your plan.
Yeah.
The desire to be, you know, in the NBA and be NFL or whatever, is great, but uh, it's not a plan. It's not something that you can actually plan. You can desire it. I
Hmm.
got it. I understand it 100%. But the odds are just so against you. Go find a plan that you can that you have a little bit more control over. And then so with that said, like I said, I've got I'll say it this way: I raised 7.5, and I'm trying to get through that other half. I think the other half is haunting me right now, and we may get to that. But kids of my own, and four are adopted,
Okay.
and so I have two sons that also played in the NFL, and so and everyone's doing well. Of my kids, and I have no complaints. I'm very grateful, very blessed. 10 grandchildren as of last Thursday. the
All right,
news.
add another one, huh? Nice.
Right.
Okay.
And so, so like I said, I am blessed. And my oldest son has his youngest son is named Chris as well. So I have a legacy already built, uh, where he's the third. And Chris James Brewer is the second. So we all have a different middle name. And I do appreciate how my mom wanted to give us proper names and names that are easier. When, for instance, like this, the real simple thing that a lot of African Americans, Black people go through is that their name is so ethnic to whatever degree, whatever you consider, that just by putting it on a resume, they know exactly who you are. They presume they know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And my name is very generic in that way, where you don't know, Chris
Yeah,
Brewer.
absolutely. Yeah.
They don't know, and then that my sons have the same name. I'm very thankful for that.
Nice. Nice.
So my introduction was almost as long as yours.
Well, there you go. Well, yeah, you were actually a little bit longer, but that's all right
Yep.
because that's exactly what we wanted. Because
Yeah.
this show is about you today,
Okay.
and one of the things that I'm hearing things. I'm hearing systems that are part of it. I'm hearing athletics. My roommate in college was a athlete named Christian McCoy, who ended up playing
Oh,
for Kansas City.
yeah.
And then I've coached other kids. When you said like barely in the NFL, barely in the NFL is going to training camp, and then you out that same season, that same year.
Yeah.
You don't even make it to the roster. 4.5 years. Almost
Yeah.
I'm
I'm in the NFL trust. I got a few benefits. So
yes. So,
and my
which
wife
is so hard.
benefits. Yeah.
Like you say, the system there is so hard. And one of the things that I really kind of want to unpack with you is this thing called identity. And you kind of mentioned some of it by, the systems where there's ethnic names and people have trouble getting jobs, and there's, and then they kind of, okay, I didn't get this, I was passed over for this happened, I'm not able to go there. And it kind of creates this identity for us that sometimes maybe serves us and sometimes doesn't serve us. But how do we get past the blame or the I'm not going to be able to, and this might be part of your mentorship too, because of I call them contributing factors, the contributing factors that I had no control of that were part of my life. My mom named me. I grew up in this neighborhood. I grew up in Colorado. Whatever those contributing factors are, sometimes create the identity that stops us from the deciding factors. Is when we decide this is what I'm going to do and this is how I move forward. What would you say to some of your mentees or some of the folks, or even in your own life, how that identity played out in where from the time, I guess, after you left the NFL till you got to where you're at now?
It's called life.
Mm-hmm.
One, we're not responsible for how people react to us.
Mm-hmm.
We are responsible for how we react. And then so I'm not responsible for the racism that exists in America. I am responsible for how I react to it and what I do about it. And then so I'm not, so you can change your name, you can do a whole bunch of different stuff, and you can try to assimilate and code switch all you want. However, there's some things, like I agree with you 100%. There's some things that you have no control over. And like I said, the racism that really does exist here in America, and that's life. That's just, some things are fair, some things are unfair, but that's just life. And how we react to it is the most important thing. What are you going to do now? One of my favorite football players of all time is Jim Brown. And I didn't see him play personally, but I'm a very big fan. I had a chance to meet him, followed, and researched his career and just who he was. But one of the greatest things that he ever did to me was when he was talking to Richard Pryor one day, and Richard Pryor was strung out, and all Jim kept asking him is, "What you gonna do?" No, man, Jim, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna hang on to my pipe. Boom, 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 boom. And Jim just kept saying, "What you gonna do?" And that resonates in my head all the time. What you gonna do?
Mhm.
So when I'm talking to young people, then what you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I mean, so you could complain all day, but what are you gonna do about it? Let me help you navigate some solutions. You know, if I can, and but the decision will still be yours, and that's where we are here in America, and that's what you're doing right now. What you gonna do? Are you gonna just complain about it and talk about it and everything else? But are you gonna go down to Selma and do something about it? And what are you gonna do? And just in case, I am concealed carry. So if I do come with you,
You'll be all right.
it's different than when they did it back in 1950. But and trust me, I don't want to hurt nobody. I don't want to let nothing die. I don't want to, that's not who I am. That's not who I am in the least. Uh, but think times have changed.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about going down south, times have changed, and so that's all I can say about that. But that I'm getting off the subject of just how do you process your life, and part of that is just how you think. Are you gonna think that you're because you didn't know your daddy and you didn't know your mama, or you grew up poor, or you grew up this and grew up that. Okay, that's okay. Those are things not even God can turn back time. He probably could,
But he's not gonna.
but he doesn't.
Yeah.
And so because God can do anything, but we have what we have. Now what do we do now? And that's where, and so what are you going to do about whatever situation you were born into, whatever situation whatever name you do have, whatever your skin color is, what are you going to do today? And then how are you going to, and is there anything, and then you have the ability, we have the choice, we have choices, regardless if you think they're good choices or not. We have choices to make, and let's try to make some good choices about what are you going to do.
You I love this when you're talking about what are you going to do, and for those of you who are younger than we are, uh, Richard Pryor is a comedian that
You,
that
I,
was
I
prevalent
could
in
have
the
just said
70s.
Richard, and you should have known who I was talking about. Yeah, but I do understand. I do understand. Some people may not know who Richard Pryor was.
Oh, I
Right.
know, and was a very good comedian, but did also had some challenges
Yes.
with with his fame and with the substances and things that he talked about it even in his comedy. How the crack pipe was a part of who he was,
Yes.
and part of his addiction. When you are talking to the folks that you're mentoring, and maybe there's a few themes or a few things that they end up with for reasons because I'm assuming because they want a better life. They want to do better in whatever that they are doing or they want to achieve. What are some common themes that you believe hold some of them back in their mindset? Because it's all about mindset. It's not about like the non-controlling factors. It's about how we show up and believe that we are in order to move forward. What are some of those common things that you find in folks that you work with or trying to work with that kind of stop them or get them stuck a little bit?
Well, first of all, I don't use the word try. I just work with.
I love it.
And then
Okay.
so I got to make sure that they have that same mentality. The other part
Amen.
is there's a common theme amongst African American men.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I didn't hear this in you as in your introduction, but I hear it. But it's a part of half of us. It's a part of a multitude of us that we don't know our fathers. All right, and for 400 years, black men were not responsible for raising their children
Yeah.
in general. If for 400 years we were not responsible for making sure that our kids ate. We were not responsible for, and I'm using 400 years because it's perpetuated after slavery.
Oh,
We
absolutely.
were not responsible for, and I'm not making this an excuse. I'm saying this is what happened.
Hmm.
And so it was Mass's job, you know, and I said it the way I wanted to say it was Mass's job to make sure that my child ate, or where he went, or what kind of work he would do, or how he would be raised, and what are his values. That was his job. And so we as a race of men, a full race of men, did not have that responsibility. And so and it perpetuated itself. So even when we hear the song "Papa Was a Rolling Stone," we all understood what they were talking about. That there was a that black men just didn't have that stability in their lives. They weren't raised that way. I'm not saying every single one, of course not.
Of course not. Yeah.
But there was at least I can easily say a generation of black men who did not have that stability. And so of course they were rolling stones. Of course they had a wandering spirit. Of course, because they when they even felt like, okay, I got it, this is on me now, they just went and started another family, or just left, or just did not show up. And then here's the other part of it: didn't know how.
Didn't know how.
Didn't know how. That was easy. That's what was so easy for me to forgive my father. I don't even know him. He's passed and gone. But I forgive him 100% because maybe he didn't know how. Maybe all he knew was, hustling. That's that was his foundation. And so a lot of us has to understand that pathology. A lot of young African American men have to understand the pathology of where they come from. And then I'm back to Jim Brown. Okay, I got it. What you gonna do? What you gonna do now? Now you've got a little bit of truth. You still have the opportunity to make a choice of what you're going to do from this point at this second. And it's 12:15 in Denver, Colorado, on a July 3rd. And if they were listening to this, I would say, what are you going to do at this very second? You have a chance, an opportunity to change your future going forward. Because I don't have the power to change what happened to us and what happened to you. And don't think I don't empathize. But I can't carry your burden. Either you keep carrying it or you let it go. What are you going to do right now?
And then you hear, oh, Chris, I'm doing the work. I'm not slacking, and I just, it's just not working for me because I don't have the examples, or I don't know what to do, and where do I go? Because I don't trust. Right, the people that I've interacted with have done me wrong, and it just seems like I can't make it. And then you're back. Well, what are you going to do? What are some of the things that you believe help other folks as you're serving other folks or other black men to help them get out of that mindset of I can't, or I've tried it and it didn't work, or whatever the excuses that we are giving ourselves, because those aren't really the reasons, because we do what we want to do because we want to do them. That's all. That's truly what happened.
I'm laughing at something else because I'm about to respond to you.
Okay, go ahead.
I was raised. This is how I was raised by my stepfather. I call him Joe.
Okay.
Joe says half the battle is looking apart. Excuses ain't worth a damn, and a drunk ain't shit. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, so those three principles. Excuses ain't worth a damn. You can make them all. You keep it. I got it. Go ahead and make the excuse that, well, I was at the job and I was there every day. I showed up even when it rained. And, and they still did me wrong. Okay, that's an excuse of saying, so you mean you never want to work again? You want to use that excuse? I'm giving you the choice to use that excuse. Feel free. Use that excuse. Use that excuse that I didn't know my father and he beat me. And there's some horrific.
Oh gosh. Yes.
Working in the Department of Youth Corrections, which I've done in the past, there are some horrific stories. You can hang on to it. I got a fist. I don't know. Yeah, here you can see it.
I see it.
Yeah, I can hang on to it.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can open up and let it go. And then, not that I'm letting something go, but I'm allowing God and then the same energy that you can, same definition you forgot, you can use for energy. Same definition. I'm God fearing, but for those who are not, let's just say it's energy. It's not that I'm trying to let something. I need to let something go so I can put something else in. So let's try to see if we can put something else into that and open up. And
Mhm.
we can't keep, you can't, if you want to hold on to that excuse, I can, and I may be stronger than you, but if you hold that fist tight enough, I won't be able to open it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you let it go, then it might be an opportunity for someone else or yourself, or you can replace that energy with something new. Let's start replacing that energy with something that's going to benefit you in the long run. And those are choices. And I love the God that I serve because he gives us choices and he wants us to love him freely. But so as a mentor and a father, and someone who walks this planet and wants to help the planet, because if and I'm going to be conservative. If African American men are 6% of the population, why are we 60 to 70% of the prisons? So it's like where did where did what this math doesn't work.
No.
And so I'm not just trying to help black folks. I'm trying to help America.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help the community that I live in.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be real patriotic. I'm trying to help the community, the village that I live in is suffering. And the more that part of your village goes to prison, the more it's going to put a drain on the village. These
Yeah.
are men and women who could be productive parts of the village, not a burden. It's $30,000 to $40,000 a year. Well, it's probably more now because this was a while ago when I got that. It's probably $50,000 a year just to house somebody.
Oh, it is more than that.
You know, yeah,
Yeah.
just to put someone in. Yearly 50,000. There's law schools that don't cost that much.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah. No, I hear you. What would you say the power of association, the power of the people that you hang around with, the power of the people or the influences that you have around you on a continual basis? In this day and age, when I think of the internet and all the bombardment of information that we have, as we're making our choices of what we put into our minds and what we listen to and what we go through, what we allow go through our eyes and what we allow as we hang out in. I talked about the barbershop for a long time, is this place of where you just go, but is it the best place to spend more of the time, hours and hours and hours there, based on the conversations that are happening there? In some cases, it's some incredible conversations that can lift you up, and in some places, it's the
Not
coming
as
to
much.
America conversations, right?
Not as much. Not as much.
So what? Power of association. What do you believe is how powerful that actually is?
Faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word of God. Okay, so I said that to say this. What you listen to the most is what you will believe. That's all that means. Faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word of God. What you listen to the most is what you'll end up believing. And then so it's very important and here's the thing. I can close my eyes, but I can't close my ears in a sense of
Mhm.
what's coming through my brain, what's coming through my synapses, what's coming through that will ultimately reach my soul, my heart. And then so you got to make sure, yeah, and so you got to be careful what you listen to. We some of the music that's out there, if that's your daily diet, I'm just your choice to listen to it. But if it's about misogyny and shooting and killing and some of the things that this society says that makes you a man, quote unquote, but it doesn't. But that's then you're not listening to something that's edifying. It's
Yeah.
going to lift you up, and then again you got to go around your friends. One of my best friends, if not my best friends, my dearest friends, Dr. Rick Perea, we went to high school together. We played high school football together. This guy was the last person on this planet that I thought would ever be a clinical psychologist. Well, he's not a clinical psychologist. He's a behavioral psychologist, Dr. P. And he's like my best friend, and he's the guy I talk to. And I'm the guy he talks to, and and we uplift each other, and we bring positive things to each other, because it and doesn't mean we live a beautiful, perfect life, because the Bible is real clear. It says, when the storms come, build your house upon a rock. Doesn't say if the storms come. It says when they come. Is the world around, we can look right now. It's the middle of July, and we know storms are coming out of Africa. There's got to be hurricanes here in America, somewhere, the American states, because it's spinning the way the world spins. Everything else, storms coming, and storms come in our lives. But then if we have a foundation of each other, we have a foundation of where we are mentally, and like I said, I know where I am spiritually. If I have that foundation, that's the foundation that I call the rock, and that it can survive the storm. But if you build your house on, some of the music that's out there, you didn't really build a house. You have a house that's ready to do something more negative, in my opinion. And I don't want to call what you do negative. That's just the most beautiful part about it. You do what you do, you. And if this is how you want to, if this is what you have, this is what you have. I'm trying to say it like this, and if I try to sugarcoat it, won't work. So it'll take too long. If you felt like you're being backed into a corner, and that you felt like that was the only option that you had, and then there are people who felt that way. Mm-hmm. We may have felt that way at certain times in our life. That's not God. That's the enemy telling you this is what you have to do. And he made you feel like there was no choice, either through fear or you limit your options. But as long as you have a choice, God, you have an opportunity. Let's put it that way. As long as you have a choice. And that's the one beautiful thing. And I guess that's the beautiful thing about, if we're gonna say something beautiful about being in this country, that it gives us a lot of choices. And let's be thankful for those type of choices that we actually have, that that I can, that you made certain choices in your life that put you where, either with the family you desire and the home you desire, to some extent, that's this part of it. Let's make sure that you understand, and then we're back to it. Let's make sure you understand you have a choice. Gotcha. And your choices can lead you wherever. There's a pattern with your choices and your thoughts.
Yeah, I love it. When I think of, and I want to unpack this a little bit more, because I love the conversation that we're having, and I think of routines and habits and things that we create, and as I'm coaching and I'm working with folks, and they're saying I want to develop the right habits, I want to develop the routines, and then I have this contradiction, because I say, well, everything is about relationships. Relationships are everything. Everything is driven and hangs on relationships, and at the same time we say things like what you said, hey, you do you. When we promote individualism, where we say, my truth is, when I think there's only one truth, God's truth, right? You can't have a separate truth that you can, react to truth differently. But so how do you take those contradictions where you say, yes, I need to be an individual. Yes, I need to love myself and grow within myself and understand who I am. But at the same time, I have to develop relationships. And sometimes those contradict each other. How do you bring those things together through, I guess it's routines or habits or things that you can do on a daily basis that help that equation so they're not polar opposites?
Okay, so I'm confused.
Okay.
Help me, doctor. Okay, why are they polar opposite? Why are how do they contradict? I mean, okay, give me an example of how they contradict, because I'm seriously confused of how they contradict.
Oh, I get you. So, okay. I'm going to do me. I don't care about nobody else. I'm going to go
Oh,
do. I'm going to hurt
okay.
whoever I'm
Yeah.
going to hurt on the way
Right.
up.
Right. Right. Right.
I'm
Right.
going
Right.
to. I'm going to
Right.
take from others so that I can
Right.
get mine.
Right.
And then you say a
Right.
relationship. So that, I mean, that's what I'm
Right.
thinking when people are
Okay.
saying,
Okay. Yeah.
"Yeah,
And
you
then
don't matter. I matter."
and that's the prison mentality.
Yes, there you
That's the prison mentality. That I got in here by myself. I'm gonna do me, and then I'm gonna get out of here by myself. And then when I get out, I don't care what happens to me. And then so they've got a place for you.
go.
It's called jail.
I love it. Okay.
You,
Yeah.
you made the choice. If that's the way you want to think, this is how you get there. And all the people you hang out with are with you. They think just like you, and they're right there in the prison cell. You know, but you've got but help you um, understand why you even think the way you do.
Yes. Okay.
Help me think. Help me get you to understand the systematic racism that puts you where you are. And when we were free slave, we just celebrated Juneteenth. When we were free slave, we were free to do what? And then here's the other part of that. He says so. There was an amendment to the 13th. There was an addendum to the 13th Amendment. If you committed a crime, you get to be put back into servitude. And so there was a systematic way to make sure that you kept committing crimes. And even if you didn't commit a crime, I'm gonna take the father out your life that you don't have even that part of the foundation.
Yeah.
If you've ever been a part of any of that, um, Mother's Day comes around with folks who have been incarcerated, and everybody wants a card. And I'm talking mostly young people.
Yeah.
Everybody, because I was a part of the Department of Youth Corrections. Everybody wants a card. Everybody wants to make sure they write their mother. Everybody, Father's Day come around, there's one or two guys. There's one or two guys out of the total population that want to make sure that they talk to their father. Because maybe that, and so there's a system that has been designed to keep you. It is said if you committed a crime. It didn't say if you committed a major crime. If you committed any crime, okay, if you stole a candy bar, licorice or whatever they had back in the day, they were going to put you back into servitude, and that's all they're doing now. It's just a different type of servitude. And because they've outlawed the fact that they can just make you work a plantation field, and not get, they've outlawed that. But that's not what I'm trying to get someone to understand is that the system is designed for you not to be part of a growing society. And I'm not giving you the excuse. I'm trying to tell you what happened. And then so once you understand what happened, that you did not have the opportunity to do some of the things that will help you become well developed, because guess what, we're all developing. But if the system is designed for that, you have a choice to say, oh, I can follow the system or allow me to do better. I've run into young people or just people in general. I'm gonna say it the way I feel it. If you're white and you have money and you have a felony, you did that. You did whatever they said you did. All right. And I'm not saying any names. I'm just saying, but if you're white and you have money in your pocket, you did that thing. No person in America, no person, black or white, green, purple, or yellow, has ever been executed in this country that had money. But there's been plenty of poor people who have been railroaded into this system. There have been plenty of poor people who did not have the finances to get out of something simple to allow you to not have a felony. Or because once you and most young people, and even you don't have to be in the prison system to understand that there is a system that if you get caught up in the system, then you get put on, like, for instance, you made a mistake or something happened or you got caught up, whatever. And now you're on parole. And now you can violate your parole 1,000 different ways. And once you violate it, then you're back.
Then you're back.
And the system just keeps churning you out.
Itself.
But if you change your mindset, you have an opportunity to let go of the old stuff. All right, here's the hand again. Let go of the old stuff. You have an opportunity to even possibly be turned out of that system, to get away from that system. And there are plenty who have done that. And I applaud them who have done it. Those who are listening to my voice right now, they know who they are and they know what they needed to do to like to turn their whole world around. There was, so it's been done. Now, it'd be different if it hadn't been done, but it's been done.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to pivot a little bit to, when we're talking about systems, and there's a system that revolves around money and finances and making sure that, I think we all want to live comfortably. I don't think we all, anybody says, hey, I don't want to have anything. I've heard that sometimes, or I don't need anything. I don't have anything. I don't think that's the crowd that's watching this podcast. But at the same time, if we don't understand and we don't learn it, where do we go to where we can trust that the advice that we're getting is helping us, and that we can begin to create habits and do things that allow money to work for us? Because I look at, this is my own personal, but money is fuel. It's fuel to allow me to do the things that I really want to do. It's not in and of itself this, the Bible talks about money. For the love of money is the root of all evil. Not money in itself. Money in itself,
you said it that way,
right?
Mm-hmm.
So in your world, in the people that you mentor, in your own personal, what are some of the things that are belief systems that we should have around money that would allow us to excel further than being the consumers that we seem to be, that get stuck in this tremendous amount of debt a lot of times, tremendous amount of belief. So I got to get mine right now, so that, because I might not have a chance to later, is one that comes up. One of the themes that comes up as I'm talking to people about finances sometimes.
All right, man. You didn't tell me there was going to be math. Okay, so,
I love it.
there's some simple. There are some simple principles, and then, like I said, we can layer it. But there are those who work to pay bills. There are those who work to get good credit so they can buy things they can't afford. And then there are those who work because they love what they do. The money comes in, and then they let the money also work for them. And have you ever been in that community where and I was just in one of those communities. I went to a golf tournament, and it was up in Ravenna. That's where it was.
Okay.
In Colorado. Most folks have never seen it, but they're multi-million-dollar houses up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a golf course, and it's beautiful, and it doesn't amaze me that someone has that kind of money. It amazes me of how many people have that kind of money. But some of it is generational.
Absolutely.
Some of it is because of what their parents before them allow them to have an advantage. Some of it is somebody's up there. There's plenty of people up there who grew up poor, but they had a mindset, regardless of your color, who had a mindset that says, I'm going to do more. I'm going to tap into that. I'm going to do what I love and allow money to work for me. Obviously there's got to be somebody who's up there that says, I'm going to try to steal my way to the top. Okay, good luck with that. But it's a mindset that as a people we don't have. We haven't. It wasn't as a people. I'm not talking about everybody, because there's some good old money in Chicago. There's some good old money in Atlanta. There's some good old money in a lot of these communities that has handed down money and taught their kids how to handle money and what the use was for. But but if you just have the mindset is that I'm working, think about it. I'm working just so I can pay somebody else. You know, I'm working to pay a bill. I mean, and that's man, I got bills, man. I got to pay my bills. I got to, man, I got to get on a job. I got to go pay my bill. And that's the only mindset you have. And then you pass that along to the next generation. I'm just gonna work to pass. I'm gonna work to make my pay my bills. I work, and then you what? And then did you live life? Did you? This is we. Another thing my father told me. He says, "You only live once. If you live it right, once is enough." So I thought he was going. I remember when he first told me that. I was like,
Wow.
I remember when he first told me that. I said, "If you live it right, he's gonna say something else." And he said,
Yes.
"If you live it right, once is enough."
Once is enough.
And so a lot of it is like, okay, so am I that selfish where I'm just giving to me and I just want me, or am I living a life that's full of purpose? That am I living a life that when this is over, and I'm going to say it the way I feel it, standing room only.
Mm,
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. We've been to those,
mm.
and then and it's not standing room only because it's a small room. It's standing room only because there's a lot of people who just that you affected lives, and you built a foundation. I'm in a process. I hope I've lived that life so far, but at my age, 62, I'm 62. I got so much more. I was like, oh wow, because I've learned so much, and I'm learning so much. And so never stop learning, never stop growing. And now, and my youngest is 22. So I really feel like, okay, this is an opportunity for me. Okay,
Yeah.
I've been raising children. I've been doing this. I've been trying to, just as we all say, I'm just trying to survive. There's more to life. To
Yeah.
this, like, man, I'm just surviving. No, there's more to life. And if even if you have survived to this point in life, then let's see if you can not just survive but live,
Yeah. Thrive. Thrive.
thrive,
Thrive instead of
live.
thrive. Live. Absolutely.
Enjoy. Live within your means. Do it and have a little bit where you can take that money and let's see what it can do. Let your money go work.
Yeah.
Don't be trying to buy stuff to impress people that don't like you. You know, do some other
Hello.
do some other
Hello.
things. I'm like, yeah, they don't like you anyway. Your neighbor, half of them don't like you.
They're not
You
even
know,
thinking
I
about you.
don't
They're
know
thinking
you. Or
about
I'm not even thinking about you. That's not like they hate. They just not. There's not.
yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. We have such similar, you know, uh, upbringings in life. I was I don't know if I told you this, but I went to Cherry Creek and I graduated in '83. So I'm a little
Mm-hmm.
bit younger than you, but not much. I you know
Mm-mm.
I
Hello, we went to high school together.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have. My senior year we played Georgia in the state championship. Um, football wise, and you were already getting ready to get drafted at that point. So, um, I have 8 children as well. I
Okay.
have two of mine are adopted. Um,
Okay. Okay.
and so I'm right now we're at 16 grandkids. That
Woo!
so it is
Celebrate you. That
but.
quiver is full.
When I think about the legacy, right? Because we started talking about legacy when we talked about finances, and we talk about is the legacy a legacy of service? Is the legacy a legacy of this is what I accumulated? When you talk about the standing room only, and when I think about that poem that the dash that I guess one of Lou Holt's students that said the dash is what matters. We were born in this 1962 and we died at whatever. That dash in between is where it made the difference. What are some legacy things that you think are super important that people leave for the next generation, whether it's our own kids, which is super important in our family, or it's our communities? What are some of those legacies that you would love to make sure that we pass on as being important?
The main legacy that we leave is our name,
Mm,
whatever that name meant.
okay.
If that name a name that when they hear it, is it honored? Is it respected? Or is
Mhm.
that name not, for whatever reason? That's the main. And you guess what? It really doesn't matter a whole lot. Well, to some of us, because I know God's going to give me a new name. So, so,
Yes.
but with the name I left behind,
Yeah.
whatever. What's the name that I leave behind? And that someone can say so and so was my relative. You said something earlier. Speaking of which, that I never got, and I didn't even realize how much I missed it until I became one. You mentioned your grandparents. You mentioned at least your grandmother.
Hmm.
And until I became a grandfather, I didn't even know how important that thing is. It's
Wow.
because I never had a grandfather. I mean,
Hmm.
well, he was around for like a minute. I can remember him like I was maybe one and a half, and I still remember him. But but my grandmother on my mother's side, and they didn't, let alone my natural birth father. But the grandmother on my mother's side was never around. She died like my mom died at a very young age. Grandparents are very important,
Yes.
to help solidify that what you do now.
Hmm.
So we are men who have kids, but at the time we had them, we had no experience. We were raised
Woo!
adults. We didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
That's what makes grandparents so vital.
Oh,
We did the best we could with what we had, and then we learn every day. But then as you become a grandparent, you go, okay, let me install some
yeah.
things. I mean, no, I can probably do some things financially. That'll be beautiful. If you're a fool with money, you're gonna be broke.
Hmm.
But let me install as much wisdom and knowledge
I love that.
into
Yeah.
our grandchildren,
Yes.
for that they can say, like you even say you said it in the beginning of this thing. You still talk about your grandmother,
Yeah.
and then that's part of her legacy.
Hmm.
And it because and these are the things that it's so important that we install these things to our grandchildren. If we ever get so blessed to see our great grandchildren, then
Whew, yes.
God be the glory. But at least, but if we don't see them, they're going to be touched because they touched us. Our great grandchildren are going to be touched because
Yeah.
our grandchildren touched us. and
Yes.
and then when they have children, they can say grandpa or pop or whatever, whatever name they got for you.
Yeah.
That name is still going to be something that's going to be honored.
Man,
And so
that
that's a
is
beautiful
so
thing.
insightful. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think of the conversations I have with my grandchildren at young ages are never quite
Young
the
ages.
conversations I had with my
Yeah.
kids because I didn't, like you said, had no clue, you know. But oh my gosh, yes, what a great
Yeah.
legacy. So
But
yeah,
the type of love that we can leave behind with our grandchildren is special.
it is. It is.
Yeah.
Wow, neat. What didn't I talk about? What is one thing? If there's things, because we're kind of at the end of our time together. What are something I maybe not have talked about, or I didn't ask the question that for somebody who listened to us talk about what it means to move forward in life and to do some of the things and maybe not make some of the mistakes we made and do some of the things that are important. What didn't I cover that you would love to share with everybody?
No, I think we covered it. I mean, there's, we can sit here and talk. Maybe you and I need to go have lunch or something like that, and
Love to.
and
Yes.
do some different talking. But I think in this past hour, we we read or digest this thing, called life,
Yeah.
and we put it in there. And I mean, there's no way I could, like I said, a lot of it, what we did was, let me say it the way I feel it, and that's what I
Yes.
my. So I didn't grow up in church. I know enough church, and I've been going to church in my adult life. So I know enough church when they say all hearts clear. I know what that means. That
Yeah.
we release ourselves at this particular time. You know, it's the main reason that a lot of churches don't finish. They start on Sunday, and they got to keep going until their hearts are clear. This let's go, let's clear our hearts, and then let's come back. We don't have to stay 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. We don't have to stay till Tuesday.
Yeah.
Let's clear our hearts. Clear your hearts. Let it go. Let God have it. Let God have it.
I
Clear your
love
hearts, and then allow Him to put something in your hands while you're there. It put something back into your spirit. You know,
it. Yeah.
but you can't if it's closed off. You can't put it. You can't put anything into it.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Well, man, I love
yeah.
that. Thank you for being on today. Thank you for the one main thing that I can say I got out of it is I have my hand here, and you
Right.
open it up and you go, what you going to do? And
Yeah.
that's
You
what I
let
would
go.
kind of love to leave with is people who are listening to this saying, what are you going to do? What are those options that you can take with you? What can you put into your mind? What associations can you have? When you see Chris and myself, and you say we're at the ages where we think differently, we look differently, we react to things differently. You said earlier, Chris, how are you going to react is the main thing. It's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it. And I hope you could take from this, different ways to react, finding different people that you can be part of, finding somebody to mentor you, finding somebody that can take you maybe out of some of those mindsets that don't serve you and put you in ways. And so, and especially for Black men, sometimes we seem to be so isolated or hidden or put in places where we don't know what to do. And then, my advice to you is reach out. I'm doing 100 Black men. Find any one of the 100 Black men that I'm talking to during this series, and they can help move you forward into the direction that you want to. And find somebody who goes along. I mean, you talked about your friend, which I loved, that you get to talk to, you bounce ideas off, that you get to do life with. Everybody needs somebody like that. And so thank you for being part of this. Thank you for those listening. We will have more of these, so make sure that you tune in for more. And we will look forward to talking to you on the next one. You guys have an amazing, awesome, just incredible day today. Don't forget your God's greatest gift, and He loves you if you allow Him to. Have a great day.